Members of the New Jersey Muslim community and really the global Muslim community are devastated right now. On Wednesday morning, Wednesday, January the 3rd, Imam Hassan Sharif was murdered outside of his mosque in Newark, New Jersey. The mosque is on South Orange Avenue and Camden Street in Newark, and it happened after morning prayers, after Fajr, at 6:15 a.m. We're frankly devastated. He was shot and people thought that he might be okay. People were making dua, people were praying, hoping that he would come through and recover, but unfortunately, he passed away. I didn't know Hassan Sharif very well. I've met him. I had to look and see. We've actually met and engaged a few times in Newark. He was a good brother. And you know, when people say somebody's a good brother in the Black community, that means something. That ain't empty talk. That's not empty rhetoric. He was a good brother. Hassan Sharif was involved in the community. He supported the community. He strengthened the community. You know, I'm not a law enforcement person, but he worked with the public safety department for safe surrender. In other words, if somebody was a fugitive, he would say, look, I don't want you to get shot up by the police. I don't want them kicking in your grandmama door. Let me help you surrender after you've done harm in the community so that your family doesn't experience greater harm and so that you don't experience greater harm. Why was our beloved brother killed? And what message does that send to Muslims in the United States, in New Jersey, and specifically in Newark? We are in a very volatile time. We're in a very volatile moment. And so I don't want to add to the violence or to the tension or to the fear through a lot of speculation. But I think it's reasonable to say that if the pastor of a church were murdered or the rabbi of a synagogue were murdered, we would want to know if it was a hate crime. We would want to know if there was any reason behind the murder that was connected to his identity as a religious leader or his religious faith. And I think we have to ask those same questions about Imam Sharif. I don't know why he was killed, but I know we're at a moment where Muslims are under attack, where a Palestinian boy was killed in Illinois. Unfortunately, there's no complexity to Palestinian identity in the minds of the West. And so everybody's Palestinian must be Muslim, and Muslims are dangerous, right? Just like Al-Qaeda is dangerous, just like ISIS is dangerous. They decide that Muslims are dangerous. And so if someone were trying to commit a hate crime against Muslims writ large because they want to punish Turkish folk or Egyptian folk or Palestinian folk or Jordanian folk, then killing an imam could be a way to go. There are people who want to punish Black Muslims in particular. There is a hatred and a resentment for Black Muslims in particular that sometimes comes up. So I want to question why he was killed. I don't know the answer. Again, more investigation needs to happen, but it's important to say that more investigation needs to happen. Now, the state seems to be speaking up because he was such a beloved person. Governor Phil Murphy said, if there's any evidence that this was anything broadly speaking, a hate crime, Islamophobia, anything in that lane, it is completely reprehensible, unacceptable in the state of New Jersey, and we will take whatever actions we need to take. But again, that's assuming it's the case. I do not have confirmation that it is the case, but I will say this. We pray for the Imam and his family, certainly, fervently. And Cory Booker, the senator of New Jersey, said, I am heartbroken by the shooting death of Imam Hassan Sharif. I am closely following updates as Newark and county police investigate, and I'm hopeful justice will be served swiftly. My heart is with the members of Masjid Muhammad and the entire New Jersey Muslim community. And the Essex County Prosecutor, Theodore Stevens, said, the Essex County Prosecutor's Office is working with the Newark Police Department and other agencies to identify the person or persons responsible for this violent act. At a time when biased crimes against members of the Muslim community are on the rise, we know this act of gun violence may heighten concerns. And of course, CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, is asking for information, and they put out a $25,000 reward for anybody with information on what happened that leads to a conviction or an arrest. This is such an awful moment in this country for so many reasons. But to know that Muslims are more vulnerable, that Muslims are more hated, is heartbreaking. And again, this might not be a hate crime. There's other things that this could be. But the fact that people even think that it could be a hate crime. I mean, who kills an imam at 6:15 in the morning in front of the masjid? But we got to add another piece to this, y'all, because I got to be honest with y'all. This is Newark. And Newark has a very complicated and messy and fraught history. And Masjid Muhammad, the masjid that he was imam of, was formerly Mosque number 25. I need to be very clear about that for those that don't know the history of Islam in the United States or the history of Muslims in New Jersey, both of which are important. There are books on this. There are films on this. I would recommend watching Who Killed Malcolm X by my dear brother, Abdurrahman Muhammad. It's on Netflix. It's an incredible series. But Mosque number 25, now known as Masjid Muhammad, New York, but Mosque number 25 was a Nation of Islam mosque that was overseen by different people, James 3X, Louis X, now known as Minister Louis Farrakhan. This mosque was opened in 1958. It was a intense mosque. It was a zealous mosque. It, in many ways, had the most committed worshipers, the most committed laborers is the word I was looking for, of any mosque in the country. Over the years, the mosque has an upheaval. It's had different aqidas, different beliefs. It's had different leadership. But in all those moments, the wounds are still there. As I said, the mosque at one point was run by James McGregor, James 3X, James Shabazz, who himself was murdered in his own driveway in 1973. There is a history of violence in Newark and tensions between the Hanafi and the Sunni and the Nation of Islam and all these different groups, between the Black nationalists and the Hanafi, between, leadership models, leadership beefs. All of this stuff is part of the mix of Islam in New Jersey. And so when the Imam, the leader of the mosque in New Jersey, is murdered, it's hard not to wonder if it's not linked to some of those old wounds. Let me be clear about what I'm not saying. I'm not blaming old Sunni Muslims. I'm not blaming the Nation of Islam. I'm not blaming Hanafi Muslims. I'm not blaming Black nationalists, non-Muslims. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm saying that there are old wounds and old tensions and old beefs. And because people are quiet, doesn't necessarily mean that they're not feeling and experiencing and negotiating those beefs. Every shut-eye ain't sleep, and every goodbye ain't gone, as they say in the South. That's all I'm saying. So in the meantime, I don't want us to speculate, but I want us to be eyes wide open that this could absolutely be a hate crime. This could absolutely be an act of violence prompted by people being Muslim. This could be old wounds. It could just be a random crime, but it doesn't smell like a random crime to me.